future. And yes, I mean, that's where you'd put it, is in the same general category. Right there by the taxi, so you'd understand what you're doing.
Okay, my major problem with not making the limo separate is, as it stands right now with the 199 catch-all, there's no need of insurance or anything else. We're not protecting the people. We need to have several things included for limos, and the wording could be, by pre-appointment only, so that they don't just come in and take away the taxi service that has gone through all this. At the same time, limos aren't necessarily something that would get a certificate of convenience and necessity, because a lot of time the limos are for a wedding group. It's not like we have big, huge wedding groups every single day, like we have people needing taxis every single day. So they shouldn't have to have a certificate of convenience and necessity. At the same time, they most definitely need to have the insurance and the checks that we have for taxis. So it just seems to me that it would be safer in the long run, clearer and easier if we had a separate ordinance for limos. Now, if we have a company that does both, they should be able to get a joint business license stating that they're doing both. They just shouldn't need that certificate. Is this feasible?
Mr. McClung.
Okay, if my question is, and no one in here may or may not know the answer to this, but the two taxi services we have now, do they or do they not operate limos?
They do.
Well, then I think that you got, out of respect to them, they have, this other person is operating, in as competition to them without, it's not a fair and level playing ground. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the ordinance you have. If your operators operate taxis and limos, then this other party should have to go through the same hoops as they did. And if they get one, fine. If they don't, fine. But they should not be allowed to operate on a 199. They shouldn't.
No.
Mr. DeVito.
I would move to have the city attorney draw up an amendment to our present taxi ordinance defining limousine, safety requirements, and response time.
I'll second that.
Are you going to, just so I know what you're wanting, if you voted, what do you mean by safety requirements? Because your code doesn't have a lot of safety requirements on taxis in it. And I'm hearing a lot of things that you're wanting, but I'm not sure.
Doesn't it specify insurance and stuff?
No.
Oh, I thought it did.
The state does
for
taxis.
The state law does, and the state law does on limousines also. If you're wanting something beyond that, tell me that so that I know what to put in there. But
are we following state law with the taxis in regards to insurance?
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you know? As far as I'm aware of. Who checks it?
I would, and I'm not up to speed on the state law, but require a yearly inspection.
With proof going to the city?
What do you mean by an inspection, I guess, then? Because we're going to have to define that. Because state law doesn't require an inspection on automobiles anymore.
Correct. Minor inspection of brakes, tires, basic safety features.
Are you requiring this on both taxis and limos? Limos only, taxis only?
Both.
Who's going to do that?
Well, there's plenty of mechanics.
You have to amend the taxi ordinance.
You have to amend the taxi.
Well, this would be an amendment to the taxi ordinance anyway.
But can we do that and have proof of insurance and all proof of inspections sent into the city? So that we have copies that it was inspected, that they do have insurance?
If we use the nasty word franchise, we might be able to, but I'm not sure without a franchise you can. Because you don't require the restaurants to provide you with their insurance policies, and state law provides that they have to have certain insurances. State law says they have to have certain exits and entrances for fire. They have to have
Well, yeah,
codes.
but if
You
we
have
don't
the
have
same
proof of
codes on
insurance-
automobiles.
Let him finish.
If we don't have proof of
No,
insurance,
let him finish.
then it's a little too late when someone gets killed.
You don't have any of that regulation right now on trailer trucks that come through town that could run over someone. You don't have that on bread trucks that pick up bread and take it to Harts.
But they're
You cannot regulate every detail of someone's life or business.
Purkeypile.
Well, they can in New York City.
Pretty close.
But previous to this, seriously, you mentioned something about maybe a little workshop about this, and maybe that's where we need
Yeah.
to discuss this instead of trying to come up with a decision here at the table to amend the current taxi ordinance to include limos and all this safety and insurance requirement.
I'll withdraw my motion and propose a workshop for comprehensive
I'll withdraw my second
Okay.
of his
vehicle
motion. Second that.
limos and taxis.
Second.
Okay, new motion, second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Are we going to set a time?
workshop.
I'll let Diane do that.
Okay. Can we include it with our other workshop on the second?
Bus, boom, boom.
Seriously, can we do it with our other workshop on the second?
If you want me present, you can.
Okay. James.
I think a one agenda workshop is plenty.
If there's no more on that one, we will move to number 2, raising council salaries. Motion to discuss.
When's the workshop?
Well, to be announced.
Well,
TBA.
Diane will have to coordinate
Really?
when we're available.
Okay, okay.
Huh?
It's already postponed until November.
November?
Correct.
I didn't get that. Okay, moves us on to number,
We did Sherwood's.
let's see. We moved number 3 up to Sherwood Court. We moved that one up, took care of that. Number 4 is planning recruitment. Motion to discuss.
So moved.
So moved.
No.
Second.
Second.
Floor is open. Anybody? Mr. Mitchell.
Yes. Beverly supplied, Miss Blankenship, I'm sorry, supplied some information, hopefully to all of us today about the commission, showing exactly what was in planning and how it does restrict city employees, department directors, or sitting on some other commissions. And while nobody would want to overload the planning commission with city employees or other people from other commissions to the point of impeding citizens from seeking out the opportunity to serve, I would hope that we would consider at least a limited number of that audience being allowed to sit on planning, maybe not to exceed 2 or 3 people from that group, instead of just totally restricting them.
Purkeypile.
I like that suggestion. We do have a mighty small pool of willing candidates to sit on any of the commissions or do anything here within the city, and I think Ms. Blankenship had indicated there was a 2/3 requirement, perhaps. Can I read this? Or was that? The Arkansas Municipal Code says the legislative body of the municipality may create a planning commission of not less than 5 members, of whom at least 2/3 shall not hold any other municipal office or appointment except membership on the board of adjustment or a joint planning agency. And so it goes on to say that it shall be composed of 7 members, the commission. So that would give us 2 maximum of 2 people that were either on another commission or worked for the city or was on the city council. I like that.
Mr. Weaver, I have a question. It had been asking me already, not involving this, but can a sitting commissioner on, say like Parks, sit on another commission? Is there anything that precludes
A
the
Parks,
same person being on 2?
a Parks Commissioner can sit on most any other board except, I think, planning, the way ours is currently drawn.
Okay, thank you. Answer my question. Any further? If not, we'll move on.
Well, are
Yes,
we
ma'am.
going to take an action on this? Are we going to solve this problem, or are we just going to say that's a good idea?
Mr. Mitchell?
Oh,
Make a
we've
motion.
been stewing about this now for 3 months.
Well, then I will, taking that great lead that we got from Ms. Zeller, I make a motion. That we amend the pertinent section of planning to allow 2 members to be from the group that was restricted. I can't, up to 2 members from what was restricted.
Top paragraph.
I'll second that.
It's already in state code.
Of course, you know, Madam Clerk likes short motions, and I don't know how to make it short, and I'm trying, Miss. I am, ma'am.
It's perfect. You got it.
Oh, thank you. Leave it alone? Okay.
Second.
Nick,
Mr. Weaver.
seconded.
Yeah, I seconded.
I would caution you in doing what you're doing, okay? Not that you can't do it, but if you put 2 members that can be from any of those bodies, and you include the council, and you put 2 off this council in there, if there's ever an appeal, you create a holy nightmare. Because those 2 people are probably going to be asked to recuse, and probably should recuse. Then you're going to leave 4 members deciding an issue on appeal. And then you've limited yourself to requiring all members of the board to vote in favor or against to get a full majority.
So should we amend council out of it? And it's
That would
better?
be my
wait,
suggestion, but
wait,
that, you
wait.
don't have to.
All right.
Okay, I would suggest that we make it, when we do from this group that cannot sit, we do 1 councilman and 1 other person is allowed from any of the other commissions. As you know.
Or any
Yeah,
ci-
because
city
that way you
employee.
only have,
Yeah,
any
city employee,
yeah.
yes.
Because
Yes.
that way, well, commission and or employees, because that way you only have 1 person from council who would recuse. You only have 1 that would, and at this point they've got 5, this is good. We need at least 1 other apparently city employee type person to be on there to make this thing viable when someone's gone on vacation. As an election commissioner, when I'm on council, anytime there's a city thing going on an election, I don't run it. I don't even work it, prepare it, get anything done. I'm totally out of it, even though by law I could. But it's the recusing, which you don't have to do, but you should be doing. And it's the same thing on planning. If you have a councilman on planning and they're discussing something in regards to council activities, actions, whatever, they'd have to recuse there. So I would limit it to 1 council person and then 1 other city available person.
I would suggest the wording of 2 persons
Yeah,
from the list, limited to only 1 member from council.
right. Well,
No
that's
more than 1 member.
right. That's what I'm saying.
That way, both persons could be city employees if you didn't have a council member
Right.
or other commissioners.
Right. Right.
Can
Yeah.
I withdraw my motion?
Amend it.
No, withdraw it. Who seconded?
I did.
Did you withdraw that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, can I make a new motion?
Yes, you may.
May I ask the city attorney to repeat what he said as per my motion?
I'll try.
Please, sir.
No, it's okay, Ned. It's fine.
I think the wording should include something to the
We
effect
don't want any hotter than
of
this.
no more than 2 members
That's
from the restricted group, but no more than 1 member from the city council at a time.
Make that motion.
And I second that motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Just make, just make sure the clerk has that motion down verbatim, so there's no issues later on.
I just have a question about that, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so what we want to make, we amend this thing to make it eligible for city employees and members of city commissions and the city council to serve on the planning commission with the following exception: only 1 member of the city council shall serve. That's what we're trying to get at here.
And no
To
more
one
than
council.
2 of the whole group at any one time.
Okay, yeah, okay. Then I'm on board with that, if that's what we're trying to get at here.
Any further? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. Motion carried. You are opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just making sure. Okay.
Why?
There's 5
Good
votes.
man.
Okay, motion carried.
Just curious.
Yes, sir.
Would it be possible if we could move item 6 ahead of item 5? Because I'm sure these 2 ladies here are just not here as their civic duty to.
No, they were here. Let's put it up at the top.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
Second.
Okay. Okay, next issue would be moved up number 6, which would be discussion of the Arts Fest. Motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Come on up, Sandy. We have
Thank you.
Sandy Martin and Marcia Havens here. They've been working their tail off on this thing, and I think they need to say a few words.
We do. Thank you, James. We're doing that. Primarily, I want to, I'm chair of the Arts Council, by the way, and Marcia volunteered at a public meeting when the idea of a street festival came up. And I wanted to clarify some things because I think there's a lot of just bad information, incorrect information that's out. First of all, the idea for an event on Memorial Weekend came to the Arts Council last year when we did our kind of post-mortem that we do after the Mayfest. And a lot of people said, why do you cut it off at White Street? You know, we need something on Memorial Weekend. Would you please do that next year? So we did. We hold, and again, information that nobody knows about it, and you all are very sensitive to this, we always hold public meetings, community meetings, to discuss the May Festival of the Art. In fact, we do 2 or 3 of them a year. Our first one was in January, where the idea came from the community during that community meeting to do a street festival on Memorial Day weekend. It grabbed a lot of attention, a lot of enthusiasm, so we started doing some research on what we needed to do, and Marcia quickly went out and did talk to a couple people, not everybody, of course, because she's busy and runs a business, but she did talk to several people that were very supportive for the street festival. So we started pursuing all the different things. One in particular was the trolley, what areas we could do with booths, what it would look like if we did it, and what we wanted out of this festival. We checked that. We knew very quickly that we could not do anything to stop the trolleys, so the information with the gentleman that said the trolleys, if you stop them, we cannot do that. We had never intended to. We never asked to. We weren't going to use all of the spaces downtown, not the red and the orange, the yellow zones. We're only going to be with buskers and people, balloon men that could move quickly in case of an emergency. There's no intention of cutting it off to the trolleys. There's no intention of cutting it off to delivery trucks. Our only purpose as the Arts Council's job was to create fresh events and try to stimulate more activity in town, different experiences, and bring more people into town. And that's all we wanted to do. We also wanted to do it downtown. We wanted to support the merchants down there. When the applications were done, we had our second public meeting, by the way, on February 12th, I think. Mid-February, again, nothing but positive, and those meetings are not only sent out to an email blast with a lot of people, including the Downtown Network and the galleries and lots of people downtown. They're also posted in both the Citizen and the Independent. So I got a little bit of an issue when somebody says we didn't know anything about it. Secondly, just as a point on that, I had my first conversation with Darlene Schrum about it March 8th, and had several since then who wanted an application and then changed her mind with that, and that's fine. We're not going to dispute any of the names on the list, nor are we going to dispute or argue in doing it downtown, because we have heard just as much passion for the street festival and doing something on Spring Street as you have heard negative. Our goal was to do a high-end, classy, art-only show. It wasn't trinkets. I don't know where that came. It wasn't, we even were struggling with the food vendor idea because two, and Darlene was one, mentioned, please be sensitive if you have food because it ruined, our clothing and smelled up the clothing in the store and everything else, which was a fantastic suggestion, and I told her we would definitely consider that. When this all came up by surprise last week with the petition, our point is not to create a problem. Our point is to really do good for downtown Eureka Springs. That's all we want to do. If downtown merchants, minority, majority, whatever, it seems like it's a minority, don't want it downtown, that's fine. We had already made plans to pursue moving it to the school, the high school property. Quite frankly, it's a heck of a lot easier for us to do it there because we don't have the terrain issues and the trolley issues. It's flat and all that stuff. We don't want to do that. Our point was to bring traffic in town. But we have a little over 26 or 27, and 28 maybe, vendors already, and these are artists, their shops, already signed up, already committed. It's been publicized. Again, we did the first article on it, I think, at the end of January, the minute it came up. So we're in a little bit of a box there. It won't be exactly the event that we wanted, but, it was designed to really kind of bring out a lot of activity.
Can I jump in here?
You bet.
Because I put on one of the more successful festivals in Eureka Springs for 9 years. And I've sat on the CAPC all these years. And I'm kind of shocked that it hasn't been discussed what we have been working for years, and that is that Center Street would be the place where we put on festivals exactly like what you're talking about. It is flat. It doesn't inhibit the flow of traffic. It's the perfect location. We've had well over 1,000 people on Center Street before for the Taste of Eureka. It was a great festival. Everybody loved it. It's high visibility. It doesn't preclude parking. My concerns about Memorial Day is that you're going to be shuttling people down to the train depot, up Hillside, and then where do they go?
Branson.
They'll go around and around and around and around because once you put them up at the top of Hillside and Spring Street, there's nowhere to go because you've blocked off Spring Street. So, I'm sorry, this is a no-brainer to me. Center Street, it's flat. All the merchants, we've already done this in the past years, they're all 100% in favor of putting it on Center Street. It's a high visibility. You're downtown. To me, it's the perfect solution. No, I don't want you to move it up to the high school parking lot.
I don't think there's enough space.
There is plenty of space. Trust me, I've had 35 restaurants set up on Center Street. There is space. Because you can go all the way down to Mountain Street. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of space, trust me.
Where do we put the kids?
Well, that's part of it. Kid Zone, S's.
Kid zones you could put in the park.
Well, we've got vendors already committed in the park, and we've got we've
Well,
got.
yeah. You know, maybe we could talk to the McClungs and let them use that parking space. There's a lot of space on Center Street.
Well, we can look at it as an option, but the school is an option. We also were talking about bringing in the farmers market to add to it. And again, our goal was to try to help, and if we can help all of the town, that's great. But we really kind of wanted to do it down at Spring Street, but it's apparently too difficult.
I just know from 27 years of 7 days a week being down on Spring Street, if you block off Spring Street and shuttle people,
I think that's a non-issue. We're not going to do it on Spring Street.
well, I'd love for you to look at the Center Street option, because for years we've been trying to get everybody to move to Center Street. I've had problems with taking the park and setting it up with vendors when Center Street is right there. You know, you lose part of the charm of the park when it's full of, when it becomes a mercantile center. To me, Basin Park's pretty special to me, that we lose that aspect, and Center Street is just sitting there waiting for stuff like that.
You want to say something?
Yes, I haven't been there anywhere near as long as you have, James, but I have the visibility of it also. And one thing I've noticed is on busy weekends, people can't even stop and look in windows or they're impeding traffic. The vision that I have for Spring Street would be to have that European feel of people being able to walk in the street and push their baby strollers and their wheelchairs, and have thousands of people walking by our businesses and bringing more business in. This was just sort of a little vision of what could possibly be. And the way I visualized it was to bring in more business, not less. To be able to hear a performance in Basin Park rather than, I'm not saying just the motorcycles, because any traffic impedes what we can do on Spring Street. And it makes it just such a cluttered feeling. And I know from talking to the other galleries, they feel they have lost their high-end business. I mean, of course, the restaurants, the trinket stores need more and more people, but the higher-end stores need people with money. And it seems as though some of those are being run off by our cluttered atmosphere we have downtown. So this, to me, was sort of a taste to see how it would work. And perhaps we chose the wrong weekend, for sure. But I'd love to see us get that taste at some point.
The other thing one of the supportive merchants shared with us was Pecan Street in Georgia.
Austin. Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas, sorry, thank you, which has a Peach Street Festival now. Similar historic street like Spring Street. And again, it started out controversial, but they closed their street and did an high-end art festival like we're talking about. And I think it's in its 6th or 7th year now. They do it twice a year, in May and they do it in the fall. And they have become quite sophisticated with their research. It's 55% women. It's predominantly 35 to 54-year-olds, high-income people that come to buy, shop, eat, relax. It has added $43 million worth of revenue to that city's bottom line. So it can happen, and a lot of the street festivals are doing that. So, and also one other point, just for clarification that I want to, for the record, from the get-go, and I do have a copy of the application if you want to see it, from the get-go, every merchant on Spring Street had first right of refusal for the space in front or nearest theirs. Our whole intent was to support the merchants and the galleries on Spring Street. It was not Trinketville, and it was not competitive. We wanted people, even that didn't think they were an art, to sponsor a local artist, sponsor an artist from the nearby gallery, and to promote the art and show off what we have here. So I'll shut up.
All right, let's start on this side. Mr. Snyder.
Okay. What I've been hearing from the merchants is, and it's a series of things. Why did y'all pick one of our busiest weekends of the year? It's a 3-day holiday. You can't close it off on Saturday. The second thing I've been hearing is, we already have enough parking problems. You're taking away parking. Third thing I've heard is the brick and mortar shops. I hate that term. This will be taking away from them. The fourth thing I've heard, and this is the one that I can relate to more, people are already downtown. And so if you set up on Spring and close down Spring Street so they can't park, they won't be able to get downtown. They're already here. They're already shopping. Now, these are what they have all 5 billion have called me. And I'm in my usual place of right square in the middle. I can see both sides equally because I'm right down over here, and I've been here 40 years. I've seen us shut off Spring Street for nighttime, Blues Fest or something, and it was awesome, but it wasn't the whole day, and I think that's one of the biggest things freaking these people out is it's a whole day, 8 in the morning until whenever at night. My personal question, before you answer any of these, all of May is May Arts Festival. Is it possible, not this year, but is it possible for the future to pick an earlier weekend that's not a holiday weekend that would be bringing people in without interfering with everybody who's already coming for the holiday weekend?
We are constantly looking for solutions, suggestions, and recommendations.
Well, I didn't know if you had checked into anything like that, if it was because it was a holiday you were picking it, to wrap up the month.
It came from a request last year from merchants downtown, oddly enough, saying that, why do you stop at White Street Walk and then don't do anything Memorial Weekend? We need something happening Memorial Weekend. So that's why we did this. We specifically called a May Festival of the Arts public meeting and went over several things that we had on the agenda, but then said, this is a request from last year. Does anybody have any ideas? That's how the street festival came up.
Okay.
So, we're trying to satisfy those, and I agree with you. It's real difficult.
Yeah, it is, and we've run into this constantly on holiday weekends. And to let you know about the people not going to these meetings or not knowing, they think it's for artists only. I've heard that a whole lot of times, that when y'all are having these community meetings, well, sure, it's a community meeting for artists.
Well, not true, and that's why we have.
I mean, that's
why we have the Downtown Network always invited. That's why we have the Chamber invited. I mean, that's why we put it in the paper. Absolutely not.
If they're not an artist, they don't.
Yeah, I know.
That's terrible, but I mean, But so what I'm letting you know is these are the things that have been brought to me by the majority of merchants, and I'm assuming most of them have probably signed the sheet. I don't know how we can do this because it is a major problem. I was hoping we'd have a shuttle we could use, something.
Well, there is. The trolley will be going through, and I'm sure we could arrange other shuttles. But one thing I want you to keep in mind is that more does not always mean more money. More people does not always mean more money. One of the busiest weekends we had when the streets were so crowded you could not even walk across the street, I brought in $158 on a Saturday. It's what people are expecting from their visit downtown. So, this is something to think of, too. And also, I would like you to keep in mind that Mayor Bloomberg in New York City closed down Times Square in 2009 to just this same kind of, oh, no, it's going to kill us. So, times are changing. We shouldn't be driving. This is a walking town. Maybe we could be an example.
Ms. Zeller, I should start with you first.
Well, obviously, there has to be a compromise here, and there has to be some negotiation. But I think, there are 44 signatures on this petition, and these were rounded up, I assume, from, the end of last week until now. So it could have been about 3 or 4 or 5 days. I used to know how many businesses were between Main Street and Mountain. I don't anymore, but I'm guessing it's close to around 55 or 60 retail shops. And if 44 of those people are opposed to this, that is a goodly number that we simply cannot ignore. Now, this business of having Spring Street closed off has been since 1979 when I came here. For some reason, people who don't own a business downtown think that's a wonderful idea. And it comes up all the time. And some of these shopkeepers are very experienced in this, and they can tell you that whenever the street is blocked off, they don't do any business. I think James's suggestion to move it to Center Street is a good compromise for this. It is downtown, but yet it still lets people get in and out. And Center Street is a proven location. It has worked before. And you're right, you could probably get 60 booths on Center Street easily. and it's not going to block off traffic. Spring Street is our only through street. For one thing, I don't understand how the decision to block off Spring Street, which is going to have a profound effect on the entire community, could be done without bringing it before the city council. I don't understand that. Can anybody just decide that our main street is going to be closed and that's that, and
Yes,
nobody
ma'am.
gets to vote?
I can.
You can do
It's
that.
an
Well, I
administrative
don't
decision.
remember voting that ordinance. If we have it, I don't remember it.
With apologies to the mayor, it always came to the council to close the street.
Not always.
So anyhow,
My knowledge
I don't
is,
think it came to the council whenever we closed it for Blues Fest.
yes, it did. For the first time we blocked it off, I was working the Blues Festival. Yeah.
It came to
And-
the council for that?
yes, sir.
Yes, and we had to promise to hire
where's
security
the ordinance that
guards
says we
and
have to
all
do
kinds
that?
of things, and it worked well, but it was only from 7 o'clock in the evening on, and Center Street was never blocked. It was always open. That's that artery. It's a lifeline. It's
Well, if
only-
that was the case and I didn't do it, then I apologize, but
Well, but we have a lot of people upset here, so we're going to have to compromise, and I suggest either moving this to, if all this work is done to get this all together, and these artists have already signed up, and I assume they're all juried, because after all of this conversation, we are not going to find knickknacks from the Dallas Mart out there.
Correct.
Anyhow, I think we have two ways to go here. Either this year, because so many people felt that they didn't know about it, and now they're upset about it, and they're looking to the city council to do something about it. Either we move it to Center Street, or we move it to a weekend that is not Memorial Day weekend. Those are the two outs that I can see on this. And maybe if you want to experiment with closing off Spring Street from Main till Mountain, maybe we can do it like the weekend after the Blues Festival, which is always dead. In fact, the reason that we moved the Blues Festival the first weekend in June, is because everything was dead down there. Nobody made any money that weekend until the Blues Festival came along. Because I was the first year that we moved it, and believe me, I was scared to death. I was surprised that anybody even came, and it was one of the biggest years we've ever had. But those are the two options I see. If anybody else sees another option to get everybody happy on this, speak up.
Mr. Mitchell?
Well, we are in a sticky situation. I think there's a lot of artists coming, a lot of people coming, so there has to be, and I think Mrs. Zeller has eloquently put the issue out there. If it is determined that the mayor can do it, then we shouldn't even be discussing it because it's a done issue and it's over. If it turns out that that is incorrect, then council should have had discussion, and that's fine. I am in favor of the least restrictive and probably the most easy way of handling it, and that was Alderman DeVito's in moving to Center Street.
Yes, sir.
comparing Eureka Springs to other cities, you can't go around the block in Eureka Springs. That's our biggest problem. To go around the block in Eureka Springs is about 3/4 of a mile. And I'll go back, you're just going to dump them all into a residential area, and they're not going to know where to go. And that's going to be a major problem, and we're going to lose customers over that. It's hard enough to navigate a Memorial weekend, but when you're shuttling them into a residential district, and there's not going to be any parking there, and they're just going to keep... I know from experience, when they come to my door, we're getting out of here, and they do, and some of them don't come back.
Well, we did plan to have people at every juncture to talk to people about it, but, I can...
And that backs up traffic. Every time you talk to somebody, impedes traffic and creates a traffic jam.
I understand.
Mr. Purkeypile?
Ladies, I appreciate all the work that you did in putting this together. I think one of my questions was answered, and that was this going to be a juried art show? That makes a difference in my mind, just on the art show aspect of it. And the second thing is Mr. DeVito's suggestion about using Center Street. If you want to keep something downtown and draw people downtown, I think that's not a bad idea to consider if it's not too late to do that at this time. As well, you mentioned, Sandy, that you'd considered the high school. I think actually the high school area is a good place for a lot of that, the old high school, for a lot of these kinds of
Quite frankly, it
things.
solves a lot of our problem with trying to get booths.
And for future,
Right.
for future shows of that nature.
And, we intended to have food vendors there as well, and big complaints from several merchants downtown. Do not do food anywhere on Center Street or Spring Street. Keep it out. So that changes things. I mean,
Not me.
No, I know, but we got an earful on that too. And Center Street we have done, and we never came before the council when we closed it. We closed it 2 years for the art fair that we had, downtown art fair.
And they had a hard time getting enough people to participate.
And with the booths and stuff, with the art booths and stuff, I mean, with the space and things, we didn't. I don't know that that's going to accommodate what we've already got committed. And we do have over, what do we got, 9 vendors from downtown, merchants from downtown that have already signed up. So, I mean, it's not everybody downtown. And, Joyce, I understand, and I too am very sensitive to anybody that has a problem or an issue with it. But there are also some very supportive people to it too. But our goal was, to create a new, fresh event that was high-end, that was not competitive at all with downtown, but highly complementary to downtown, and to draw more people in it. If other people don't share that vision, then we need to do it and replicate it just as much as we can somewhere else. And, we've got Trout Fishing in America booked at the Odd that night, because the other thing that was requested of us was do something that will keep people downtown a little bit more. It's a Saturday gallery stroll. They're going to have that too. We're going to fill the galleries. But, if they don't want it downtown, they don't want it downtown. We'll do it somewhere else.
Excuse me, please don't say
Schneider.
that.
Okay.
Ms. Snyder.
Well, on that weekend, let me say that, closing Spring Street, period.
You made a slight mention that you'd had several of the shopkeepers saying you could put your stuff in front of them.
No. We gave every merchant on Spring Street first right of refusal.
Okay, that's what it was.
And
Explain
that. They have the space in front of their store.
You mean
or
like the
adjacent to
parking
store.
space?
Right.
Okay, and? I mean,
7 of them who said yes.
So you went and said, this is what we would like to have planned. Can we use the
They
parking
had
spot
heard
in
about
front
it.
of your
Some of
house?
them were at the public meeting. Others Marcia had talked to, and they thought it was a great idea. It was in the paper.
So a lot of the places agreed to that and thought it was a good. Did the others just get rude, or they just say no, or I'm not interested, or don't do it?
We haven't walked the whole block with it. We put it out. Marcia's talked
okay.
to as many people as she can. I've talked to a couple on the phone. Several of them attended the meetings. The promotion in the paper said contact the Arts Council, send you an application. I sent out, probably 5 a day from not only individual artists but also shops. Sent out one today from a shop on Upper Spring. So, it's getting out there. I mean, they don't have to take the space in front, but we felt that it was, if we were going to do this to support the merchants downtown, that they should have first right of refusal for that
Right.
space.
Okay,
and
well
space
then,
in Basin
well
Park.
then I'm confused now that I'm thinking about it more. If you got only 7 said fine, go ahead, use the parking spot.
No.
They took it for themselves.
Oh,
No, they are a vendor.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant they were saying, yeah, and I was
No,
going to say,
no.
they've got the sidewalk now.
Yeah, and the sidewalks
Okay.
will be open. Yeah.
Okay.
No, they're
They're joining in.
and they're paying money.
Right.
Mr.
Okay.
Mitchell.
So, are you saying that if you moved the venue off Spring Street, that the high school is a better option in that remote location than Center Street?
Well,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll tell you,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. If you go on not the side parking lot, but off of 62, it's a straight shot down. It's just absolutely perfect for a street fair like that and the kind of festival that we want. I mean, we've got the Eureka Springs high school art students that are going to be doing hopefully chalk demonstration and some other stuff there too. And, you know, possibly now with that Space Farmers Market, and leave the whole back end of it for either, you know, music and or farmers market and a lot of parking. Parking's not an issue. We don't have an issue as far as the you know, the artists and the vendors who want to put a booth up. We also, Marcia and I talked today too, that because we have a situation that we have some vendors downtown, some merchants downtown that have already done it, we would rescind their money and offer them a space there free of charge so that we can show them our support for them because they supported us. And we just feel like that's the fair and the right thing to do. But the school, quite frankly, and it's a great little showpiece for that entrance in town. And the Arts Council has been, you know, maybe you know, we're doing the North Main Musical Sculpture Park in the North Main, and we're trying to do public art or some activity in a variety of entrances and gateways into the city too, so it's kind of perfect.
And so the school district doesn't have a problem with you doing it?
We'll need to
right
find that out. Again, we just found out about this.
I understand. I'm
We
sorry.
didn't anticipate it being
Yeah,
this opposed
we
to
need
bringing
we need to
business
find
downtown.
some.
Got it.
No idea.
And please
Yeah.
notice your signatures are not all on Spring Street, and lots of them are multiple.
Mr. McClung,
Yeah, we question those.
But we don't-
Mine
we're not
is
questioning that.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'm guilty of ignorance too, because if it's not on the front page, I guess I don't get it. And so this was all new to me too. But the big thing is, and I've been around here for a few days, is we're all just so resistant to change, and you know, and afraid to step off the cliff into that unknown. But and I'm as guilty as anybody. I am too, and I have family members that have retail space there and all, and I haven't spoken with them about it, and I think maybe they might have signed that thing.
They did.
Which is you know, is their choice, and that's fine, and they are no different than I in the resistance to change. I do know that if you took it to the school, that this isn't your first rodeo, and you're going to push it, and it's going to do very well. Personally, I'd like to see it downtown. I'd like to give it a try. You know, it's, you don't know until you step out there, and I agree that it's not the right weekend, but that's when it's scheduled for this year. So, you know, how do you turn back unless you move it?
And we still have the obligation, because we were requested to come up with something for that weekend by
Sure.
downtown merchants.
Sure.
So, you know, we're
Well,
kind of caught between a rock and a hard place with trying to.
I
do it.
understand.
It's not a matter of having it on any given weekend. We could, you know, we could do that. It was designed specifically, requested by the merchants downtown
Well,
to do something on that weekend.
For myself and the knowledge that I have in working with the CAPC, and you know, it's coming up with ideas to fill those weekends that are not quite
Right.
so good.
We're working on that too.
Yeah. So
Mr. Mayor, I want to ask you this question, and Sandy both, and you too, Marcia. But, Mr. Mayor, I think, is there enough throughway there for rescue, transport, vehicles,
You
emergency,
can get a trolley through there.
trolley? So the trolleys won't be stopped. The trolleys will be coming through.
I don't know where that came from, but no,
They
the
will.
trolley's never going to stop.
They will not stop. They will come through, and I believe there's something in there about letting people come up that were going to either the
Hotels.
two hotels up there, the two big hotels.
Actually,
Jack said he would work with us. You know, he said most of his people check in on Friday.
Jack who?
Moyer.
Okay.
Manager of the hotel, but he would be coming down center and letting them on Tracy.
we had more of an issue with him when we closed Center Street, because he uses that sometime.
So my question is, would it be a safe route, one, and would the only thing that you'd be limiting then would be the parking, and there's how many spaces? 18 spaces, 24 spaces.
24.
So it's not a loss of revenue to the city, because the city, those spaces are being bought.
Correct.
We're
That's why we're charging the booth.
So with the booth fee, those are being bought. The booths themselves, the pop-up tents, typically,
If they choose to.
okay. But let's say, one concern that was brought up to me was if you have a pop-up tent in front of a business, it will, from the street, it might block the visibility of that. But what you're saying is, have you talked to all the merchants?
No.
Okay, and said, do you want to have a tent in front of you or not? Somebody in front of you or not? Well, I think that's probably one thing you need to kind of clarify. There's probably a little bit
There
of,
are 3 signatures on there that I didn't clarify that with, and they did not want a space in front of them, but, they're still saying, they're questioning why we're doing it.
right, and this right, let me continue just a second, to get my questions in before everybody else does.
No talk.
There are 30 here on Spring Street, 30 signatures that I could see that weren't repeats. And Ms. Zeller had indicated there's probably maybe 60 at her estimate, businesses up there.
Less than that.
So that's about half, at least half of the businesses up there don't want that. And you're saying, Marcia, that maybe you cleared that up a little bit with some of them, or?
Well, I'm not sure I could say I cleared it up. I don't know what their thinking was. They had told me whenever I talked to them that they were all for it, yet their signatures are there. I have not questioned why.
We just move it. It's
So,
easier.
we'll do whatever we need to do. We want this to be good for the town.
Sure.
If it's not, then we don't want to do it.
From a matter of organizing it at this point, it's a heck of a lot easier for us to move it. That's not what we want at all. And we took great pains in literally measuring every single parking space and mapping out the red zones, the yellow zones, and making sure that there was enough space to not only accommodate the trolley, emergency vehicles, and anybody that wanted to do pickup and deliveries. They can still get through there. We have to accommodate the trolleys. And that the booths now the sidewalks are still open. People can't walk on the streets now anyway, so what's the issue there? It's going to be, if the sidewalk ends here, the booth will be out a little ways because there's more than 10 feet out there that we measured it. That's a parking space right now. And we've got tons of room for people to walk because on the opposite side of the street, it's either red or yellow, as you can see here. So there's not going to be a traffic issue at all. And sidewalks are still open, so it's business as usual there. Street is more open. Atmosphere is a little bit more artsy, friendly, and conducive, we think, to go in and out of the shops as well as weaving in and out of the booths and enjoying the activity.
But I noticed that those black rectangles are tents.
Well, those are
Proposed
spaces.
Spaces.
Yeah.
Well, some of those appear to be in front of some of the signatures here.
Yeah, they could. That's the first time I've seen it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would like you all to think of, if you decide we shouldn't do this, we fully understand, but think in the future on some weekend perhaps, let's do it and really shut down the street and put those tents out in the middle of the street, find a way for the trolleys to suspend for a day and have an honest street festival. I'd love to see that happen and see what comes of it.
Mr. Mitchell.
2 questions. One, is sales tax going to be collected on the sales from these vendors?
Sales tax isn't
I'm just questioning it. Did you collect sales tax?
in
or
any of the other art fairs we've done. No.
Oh, okay. I did not know, so it was a question that came up. And number 2, why is this even before council today? We've had a long, lengthy, great discussion, but
I added it because of all the people that were coming in to talk about it.
But if it's not per se, is somebody wanting a decision from us, yay or nay? I mean, is that what we've had all this discussion for? That council's being asked to sanction it?
The
or
topic
to
was
not
closing
sanction
the
it?
street off.
So I guess that was
That's
topic
what's on
was-
our agenda is to close whether or not.
The
to close
topic
the
was
street.
discussion of the closing of the special event.
But it sounds to me like the promoters of this have based on, and I could be wrong, based on the resistance that they've heard, are actually willing to go ahead and move it. So is it not a moot point now?
It needs some clarifying.
Yeah.
Snyder.
Okay, what I would like to clarify is All proper procedure was gone through. This is a special event. It was put before all of the department heads. They all signed off on it. Technically, that's it, but we are the city council. We can deny it. I am in the middle. I see both sides. I can understand what the merchants are saying, and I thoroughly understand what y'all are doing, and I am right square down the middle.
Let me make it easy. Let's just move it.
Well,
Because
just
it's
for...
not- and we'll come back and we'll revisit another application or another kind of an event that might be more appropriate, starting from the merchants and having them say what it is.
See, and this is your choice to do. I personally love the idea, not talking about this right now, but for future, I love the idea of the high school because it's the open highway. Everybody sees it. There's room to park, and I love that spot. But I love this kind of stuff downtown, too. And like I said, I'm right square.
We're gonna get yelled at. We're gonna get yelled
No matter
at
what.
and accused of sucking business away from downtown. Now,
Well, you're going to be accused of chickening out,
at
too.
this point, I mean, we have publicity out. We just sent in an article, got a request to with the Missouri AAA that's doing a feature on it. We don't have time to fight this battle and to compromise on it. So
It's my
we'll.
understanding Crystal Bridges wants a booth too.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, and the trout fishing, but there's no way you could do this for like Center Street that keeps it downtown.
Not with what we have planned, no. I mean, the kids zone is going to be quite big, and we'll still have some stuff in Basin Park, because we blocked out Basin Park as well. So,
Well-
but if you're interested, here's a map and here's a couple of applications so that you can see what we have. But I'll just leave those with you, and I appreciate your time. But it's we are too. But you know what? Like Marcia said, we don't give up. And there's going to be something that is going to be appropriate and please everybody.
Well, and
not
you might
everybody.
have, good luck. You might have a little more idea now on
The senior
pitfalls.
kids, we will not let them be on water.
Right. But if you hear negative about, oh no, what are they doing? They're taking it off and they're taking it downtown.
That was never the
Um,
purpose.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, we don't have a choice. That's what. Yeah. We are too.
Cindy, let me-
Thank you
let me
very
keep
much for
that.
coming,
Thank
for
you.
waiting, and we realized we had you up here a lot sooner. Or had I realized.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you, Morris.
We appreciate it.
We'll find a better
Sorry
business.
for all the trouble.
Okay,
So what are they doing?
They're
we're going to move it to the high school if the high school let us. Just so the council knows, this was my idea. It wasn't their idea to have it on Spring Street. I had it on Spring Street because that weekend's going to be busy and we thought we'd keep people downtown. Apparently, that's not what's going to happen. So, number 6, the SWEPCO issue. I brought this to the council table because it involves the city building. So I need a motion to discuss it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. SWEPCO is going to close their office for their servicemen at the electric EUREKA plumbing on 23 South. They're going to pull it as a cost savings measure. That leaves us without a serviceman working inside. They're not taking them away from us, but it leaves him without a place to be. He has to either work out of his truck or out of his house. So what I proposed to SWEPCO and now to y'all is that we lease the bottom of the Public Works building, which is a full basement, plenty of room, more room than he's got now, to SWEPCO. And SWEPCO has been talking to me. They were going to take all of his property, all the equipment, everything that he uses on his daily stuff, and rent a storage building just to close that office out. So I proposed to them that we could put the equipment and the serviceman, Mr. Turner, Jerry Turner, who lives in Berryville, by the way, in the basement of the Public Works building for a fee. We're not going to do it for anything. They proposed $40. I told them $100 because we have some utilities to take care of. But before I can do it, council needs to discuss it because it is a public building. Y'all have authority over all real estate and public. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I must have missed it. Why is his building going away?
Cost cut from SWEPCO.
Cost cut, okay.
They
And we
called it
can,
something else,
we can
but
do
it's
this,
basically what it
the city can do this, we can lease
It's a
it
public
out?
building, yeah.
Okay.
unless Mr. Weaver's got an issue.
You will have to show a public purpose in doing it, but if you show a public purpose in doing what you're doing,
A handy dandy
It's not-
repairman. Okay, you said they offered 40, you offered 100. Any idea what they were paying?
500.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
And so I assume they did not flat out turn down your 100?
Not at all.
Okay.
And if the council has another number, I'll take it back to them and ask them. But to
Don't
keep
go
our
there.
servicemen here,
Handy dandy.
handy dandy, I figured it'd be easier just to keep them in public works. Yes, sir.
The only question I have is that can Public Works get along without the space?
Absolutely. Dwayne and I and Jerry looked at it. It's good to go as far as that end of it goes. Mr. Mitchell,
So you need a motion from us here probably is that what you're needing?
just to vote, okaying me to put in private company in a public building.
So you need a
But
motion
they
to
have,
do that
they
or just
have
a
a
vote?
franchise with us too, apparently, since they are SWEPCO. Is that correct? Yes. Mr. DeVito?
I would move to have the mayor to enter into negotiations with SWEPCO on the leasing of the basement at the Public Works.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm sure Mr. Turner will be tickled to death. He doesn't have to sit in his truck 8 hours a day. Yes, sir.
Could we move the last two agenda items to next meeting?
No, because it'll only take 5 minutes.
Okay, it's 10 after... I'm serious, it's 10 after 9.
Well, won't take long.
Okay, he made a motion. Is there a second?
For what motion? Can we?
I was
To
going to
postpone, and
delay
I
it, but
said
she's
no.
guaranteed me it's 5 minutes. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. Next up is number 7, council procedures.
Okay, motion to discuss.
Second.
Second. Floor is open.
Okay. I just want to know a couple of things in regards to procedure. Something when we were setting up in January that we overlooked and today reminded, at least me, we never set up for public comment if there's a whole slew of people, cutting it down from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. Is this something we want to do?
Mr.
No.
Okay. Everybody else?
No.
3
Okay.
minutes, you know.
Cutting it down?
Okay.
Okay. That was that one. When we postpone something on the agenda, like we have some of the stuff postponed until November, why would we still have it on here so it doesn't fall through the cracks as opposed to having a booklet or something with these things listed
It's in
by
the minutes.
date?
It's in the minutes. That
Well-
it's been postponed. Ms. Clerk, go ahead.
We've tried it both ways, and it works better. So that it has been.
Okay, well, because
Both
we've got all
ways.
these things in here that are saying postponed, and we get to them and we have to go, well, that's been postponed, and we have to...
Well, if we actually read the agenda, we already know it's been postponed.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean, but it stays on there until we
It
get down
is
to it.
to promote continuity in the flow of the council's business.
Okay.
And it works a lot better than hoping we remember in October to put something
To read
on
your book.
the agenda in November.
Could we then maybe
So-
just have a little section, things that are postponed, and then where they're postponed to, that we could see at the bottom instead of having it actually as a numbered item? Where it would still be on the page.
Is there any harm done by doing it this way?
It gets very confusing, especially to the people. They see all this stuff on here and they come to show up to talk and then they find out it's postponed for 3 months.
It says,
Doesn't mean it sinks in.
I'm a dictionary. I mean,
Okay.
Anyway, that was my question on
Right.
that. That's all I
Okay.
wanted to know.
Moving on.
Is that a little... Do you want to... Okay, never mind. Just... Yes, go ahead. Number-
I
sorry.
agree that it's fine the way it is, and I don't see a problem, and
Well, the reason it's basically done like that is the administration had been accused of deleting items from the agenda that we just didn't want on there. So we just leave everything on there, and that's the way it is.
Sounds good
Okay,
to
I
me.
have one last procedure, and that's Lonnie. If he isn't needed on an item, does he have to sit here?
No?
I know that was something the other council did.
Yeah, He had an issue on the agenda tonight. He is free to leave anytime he gets ready.
I think he's just staying.
He just loves the job
The
so
other-
much.
He loves us.
Okay, well, because I know a previous council had said it was mandatory, and I thought that was silly.
No,
Okay,
that wasn't true.
okay.
Brings us to number 8, the trolley. Motion to discuss.
So moved. Second.
Okay, the city's last actual trolley is going out for bid for sale. We have now been getting trolley buses, okay, which aren't really quite the same, not near as charismatic as our original and our old trolleys. So we have this last one left. It's been brought up that this would be the perfect item to put at the Plainer Hill parking lot for the people to be able to have little photo ops and stuff. So it's visible, people see it, they pull in and they park there. And then maybe hopefully take a trolley downtown or walk. But the biggest thing is it's our last one. This is our last trolley-looking trolley. And believe me, the people can tell the difference between a trolley and a trolley bus, and they are not happy with buses. But this would be a great thing for the city, but the city would have to bid on it. Yeah, and you never know. We've had one go for $1,200. We've had one go for $6,000 or $7,000. So it is a bidding situation. Anything over $2,000 goes back to the state, who finance these things anyway. But like I said, it would be both a photo op for the visitors, and it would be a good draw for the Plainer Hill parking. But it's something that kind of needs to be discussed because it's going up for bid soon.
It should be.
We need the money. We got plenty of places for photo ops in Eureka Springs.
But it's a trolley. It's our last trolley.
Goodbye.
Yeah, you drive. Can I hear from anybody else about this?
I don't care.
I'd rather put that money towards repairing the sewers.
There you go.
Told you
Let's
5
get
minutes.
this guy's
kiddo.
sewer problem
Okay, 5
fixed.
minutes is up.
Okay.
That sucks, but okay.
No more on that one. That brings us to agenda setting.
Weenies.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes. The topic of, and I think it's the correct, demolition by neglect.
Okay.
Yes, I'll second that. Oh, you don't need, he doesn't need a second.
And then another topic, smoking in establishments that serve food, based on a tremendous number of requests that council at least discuss it.
I'll second that.
Wait a minute. There is a law about that, a state law, isn't there, James? There's a state law, so we
Yeah.
don't need a local law.
And I don't know if we can supersede state law on that.
You'd be more restrictive. I don't know how you'd be more restrictive.
Well,
The only places would be open to that would be bars.
That serve food, I think. Yeah, that's probably where it's headed. That's what the
I
discussion.
think you'd have a problem restricting it there.
Could be.
Well-
I've received so much.
wait, each bar has the option. They can go.
Let's slow down a little bit. We're discussing the issue now.
Right.
Thank you.
The issue now is
Okay.
just to put it on the agenda or not. So, is there
I
a second on
seconded-
his?
I seconded.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Mitchell?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. DeVito?
I'll wait.
Mr. McClung?
That one's hot enough.
For agenda setting,
Yes.
nothing.
Mr. Purkeypile?
Nothing.
Mr. Snyder?
No. I got mine today.
Zeller?
No, I don't have. Do you and me? I
Yes,
don't have
ma'am.
anything.
Okay. Mr. DeVito, that's a no, I guess?
I have no
Right
say.
now?
No, for now.
Okay. Council comments, Mr. DeVito?
None. Thank you.
Mr. McClung?
No.
Mr. Mitchell?
One brief comment. I had somebody mention to me the other day that and I think it was sarcastically done, but I can't quite tell, but the fact that there's a lot of smiling going on at council, and I would like to point out
Excuse me.
to the public that yes, there is a lot of smiling going on at this council table.
Isn't it awesome?
And the reason there is because, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the people at this council table truly respect each other, respect the people that we're here with, the city attorney, the clerk, the mayor, and everybody else, and that we also do it in a civil manner and proactively. So yes, we're smiling. And we will continue, I hope, to smile.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Purkeypile.
None.
Mr. Snyder?
Yeah. You don't have to throw popcorn because we're having a good time. I would highly suggest that this packet that Ian got us, y'all take the time to wade through it. I've made maybe halfway through in a week. But it is fascinating. It's the taxi limo thingy. It really is interesting. Takes the time to go through it. We're going to need that for the workshop. And then all I wanted to say was Happy Easter, y'all.
Ms. Zeller?
Who, me?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Hilarious.
All right, come down to me. Before I say anything, I'm going to read off the events. March the 30th to celebrate Jesus Parade this coming Saturday at 11:30 a.m. I'll be marching in it. March 31st, Easter Bells Parade at 12 o'clock. March 31st, Easter Sunrise Service at Great Passion Play at 7 a.m. April the 5th through the 7th to Spring Diversity. April the 6th, Ozark Mountain Mystique at Auditorium, 7:30 p.m. All right, that's a list of events. I did not expect the opposition to trying to bring business downtown. Now, granted, we may have picked the wrong weekend, but if there are indeed 60 businesses downtown and how many was it? 30 voted not to have an event downtown for that particular reason, I can understand that, and we'll deal with it. What I don't understand is the prelim to this, when most of the people we talked to, they changed their mind. I believe some of them were coerced to probably sign this, and that's my personal opinion as the mayor. Due to the fact it was done with all good intentions, I don't think the Center Street thing would have worked because it's not the same ambiance as Spring Street. It's a back street, and that's not what some of these artists wanted to do. They want to be right down smack in the middle of town to show their wares and their abilities and their talents. So we'll deal with that one. I'm basically disappointed in the way it was handled. I personally, well, I say personally, as the mayor, received 2 phone calls in opposition. One of them was the lady that took the petition around, and another one was some lady who just said her first name, didn't give me a name or business, last name or business. To me, that's not opposition. So, for what it's worth, we'll take it and put it somewhere else up on the highway, if the school will let us, and that's something we'll have to deal with. Other than that, we're supposed to have good coming weather. It's supposed to be in the 70s, I believe Mr. DeVito said. Next week, thank goodness, to get out of this.
It better be.
Very not fog and not cold and not rain and not snow.
For how long?
So with that, onward and upward. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you very much.
Guys
All
are
in favor, say
getting
aye.
good.
Yes. Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. All in
Everybody
favor?
go to...